And
Right.
we have to remind ourselves that the idea that disease comes from the gut is as old as the history of medicine. Hippocrates, 2,500 years ago, said
Right.
all disease begins in the gut. And
Right.
the guy was a genius. I mean, he didn't have the Human Microbiome Project,
Right.
but he knew that this is where it was coming from. You have to, and this particularly goes to women, you have to find someone who is willing to listen to you and not dismiss you as, well, you've got two kids and of course you're tired, or
Yeah.
okay, you're working a job and you got two kids and of course you're tired,
Hmm.
or you're 45 years old and you're perimenopausal and of course you're tired and of course you're depressed and that's normal, get over it.
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, these things are not normal.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine the pioneers in the 1800s? I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, where tons of the Mormons and other pioneers came through Nebraska in their covered wagons. And I mean, can you imagine trekking across America with two kids and, cows trailing behind in a covered wagon and saying, boy, I don't want to go on because I'm having a really bad day and I'm tired. Um, of course not. These, are symptoms of being tired, or I've got a foggy brain, or I just don't, my get up and go got up and went. These are
Hmm.
modern phenomena, and
Right.
we did not have these problems before, and we have to realize that. It's crazy when I look at that list, I'm going to say, "Okay, you just described just about every disease there is or every complaint there is,
Hmm.
and, how can you be so sure?" Well, because I've seen it with
Right.
leaky gut.
Right.
So there's very, very strong evidence, and Daniel Amen would back me up that
Hmm.
leaky gut and a gut dysbiosis, a bad gut microbiome, is probably one of the major unrecognized causes of anxiety and depression that
Absolutely.
there is. And there's some really good research that lectins are a really good cause of anxiety. Well, and sometimes it's even as simple as, I've got achy joints and,
Ah.
I'm 30 years old and, I feel like every time I get out of bed in the morning that, I feel like, an 80-year-old person. Then
Right.
what's the deal with that? And I
Right.
see a lot of people who, their hands were swollen or their feet were swollen, and that was actually all from leaky gut.
What do we tell people to say when they walk into their doctor's office and they want to get tested for leaky gut or leaky brain?
Okay, that's actually a great question.
Mhm.
So Dr. Fasano from Johns Hopkins was, as far as I know, the person who figured out how lectin and gluten cause leaky gut.
Mhm.
And one of the things that he discovered was that there's a compound that when gluten or lectin attaches to the wall of your gut, uh, is elaborated. And this compound is called zonulin. And so early on, we began looking for leaky gut by measuring zonulin in the blood.
Mm.
And unfortunately, we were wrong.
Mm.
And I made the mistake, and I think most people still make the mistake of looking for zonulin as a way of looking for leaky gut.
Mhm.
What happens is that zonulin attaches to another receptor, and then that flips a switch and breaks what are called tight junctions. So
Mhm.
rather than look for zonulin, you actually
Mhm.
have to look for antibodies to
Right.
zonulin, and you
Mhm.
have to look for antibodies to actin, one of the pieces of the tight junction. And when you
Mhm.
do that, lo and behold, the vast majority of people that I see, their zonulin levels are normal, but their anti-zonulins and their anti-actins are sky high. And then
Mhm.
we watch that over the course of months turn off. And So ask for anti-zonulin and anti-actin. Now, there's a company that I use called Vibrant America.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
and, I have no relationship with them except I actually advise them on their lectin test.
Okay.
And they actually are the ones who taught me about aquaporins. They discovered.
Okay.
So the tests are stupidly named. They're called Zoomers. I don't know who their marketing person is, but so there's a wheat zoomer that looks for leaky gut from wheat. There's a corn zoomer. There's a lectin zoomer. There's an egg zoomer. There's a dairy zoomer,
Mhm.
and there's a neuro zoomer.
Mm.
And so that's what actually I use. I don't use it on everybody because
Right.
sometimes it's